In Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, encounters do not begin with initiative, and it does not always end with a killing blow. Today we are breaking down the psychological engine of the Dungeon Master's Guide to master the art of reaction and morale. Welcome to another DragonLance Saga episode. My name is Adam, and today we're going to take a look at how surprise leads to reaction, and how reaction inevitably leads to the final test of any creature, the morale check. I'd like to take a moment and thank the DL Saga members and Patreon patrons, and invite you to consider becoming a member or patron. You can even pick up Advanced Dungeons & Dragons and Dragonlance Media, or get $10 by signing up to StartPlaying.games using my affiliate links. I am referencing the Players Handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and the Unearthed Arcana for this information. If I leave anything out or misspeak, please leave a comment below. In our previous episodes, we looked at the physical side of the game, THAC0, armor class, and the logistics of vision. But today we're looking at the human element that defines classic play. According to the Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide, an encounter is a multi-stage process that tests a party's social standing and a monster's bravery long before it tests their hit points. We're going to look at how surprise leads into a reaction check, and how the initial impression dictates whether a fight breaks out or a conversation begins. The engagement begins with the surprise roll, which is often the most misunderstood and lethal mechanic in the game. Being surprised simply refers to being caught unaware or unprepared. One, both, or neither of the encounter parties may be surprised, and it is only relevant at the start of the encounter. While the standard surprise roll is a 1d6, there are other modifiers that may be taken into consideration. For example, some creatures are better at surprising others, like the huge spider, as well as some player character classes are more resistant to being surprised due to their perceptiveness, like the ranger. Surprise is not just about who acts first. It is a measure of free 6-second segments that allow a character to close distance or cast a spell before the opponent even realizes a fight has started. This initial moment sets the tone for the entire encounter, as a surprised enemy is caught in a state of confusion that makes them far more susceptible to your initial social approach. If an encounter does not immediately descend into violence during the surprise round, the Dungeon Master moves to the reaction roll. This is typically a 2d10 or percentile dice check that determines a creature's initial disposition toward the party, but it is heavily modified by the party leader's charisma. In Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, your charisma score provides a specific reaction adjustment that can shift a result from hostile to cautious or even friendly. This mechanic reminds us that Advanced Dungeons & Dragons was designed as a game of negotiation and resource management. If you can talk your way past a group of guards, you save your spells and hit points for the real threats deeper in the dungeon. Once the dice start rolling in combat, the most important mechanic to track is no longer hit points, it is morale. Every creature in the game has a morale rating that represents its willingness to stay in a losing fight. The Dungeon Master's Guide lists several specific triggers for a morale check, such as when the first member of a monster group is slain, when their leader is killed, or when they lose 50% of their total hit points. The Dungeon Master rolls 2d10 against this rating, and if the roll exceeds the creature's morale, they will break and flee. This forces players to think tactically. Sometimes targeting the enemy commander to force a morale failure is far more effective than trying to deplete the hit points of every single soldier in the room. This also creates the pursuit phase of combat, where the party must decide if it is worth chasing down a fleeing enemy and risking an ambush. With the introduction of the Unearthed Arcana, these psychological mechanics were further refined through new class abilities and social standing rules. The addition of the Cavalier class introduced characters who are often immune to certain morale-crushing effects, or who can bolster the morale of their followers simply by their presence on the battlefield. The Unearthed Arcana also expands on how different races view one another, adding another layer of modifiers to the reaction roll based on ancient racial animosities. These expanded rules emphasize that a high-level party is not just a group of individuals, but a leadership unit that can dominate the morale of entire armies. Mastering the mechanics of reaction and morale elevates your game from a simple paper and pencil game into a living, breathing world where enemies have fears and leaders have influence. By understanding how the Dungeon Master's Guide handles these psychological triggers, you can control the flow of the dungeon without ever having to swing a sword. That is all the time I have to talk about surprise, reaction, and morale. Do you ever use these roles in your home games? If so, do they tend to benefit or hinder the players? And finally, are most of your encounters combat-based? Feel free to email me at info@dlsaga.com or leave a comment below. I would like to take a moment and remind you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, ring the bell to get notified about upcoming videos, and click the like button. This all goes to help other Dragonlance fans learn about this channel and its content. Thank you for watching. This has been Adam with Dragonlance Saga, and until next time, remember, a good referee will have many ways to distract an expedition, many things to draw attention, but ignore them if at all possible.